It's in your package. Go on your desk.
Okay.
I think where it is. We'll take care of that later.
I got that news. I called Shirley. I need Shirley Hill and Shirley very close.
Receive Kathy's.
They never saw me. They never saw it coming.
No.
It's on the road.
I don't want nobody taking your seat.
That's fine.
I thought it was mine. I got some there. No, I got some, yeah. I got so much stuff over here. Joe came and took some of it away, then she bought some of it back, and I'm like, come on, Joe.
Hold it here. Remember, I'm left-handed, so I got you on this side.
Yeah, we gonna change them. Already got it written down here.
Oh, okay.
Here it is.
You got a copy of that. I didn't even.
Yeah, I just put it in here and it says the same thing. Yep.
So we got to take this one out. Well, I'll just pull it over right now. Silence.
Good evening and welcome to the December the 5th, 2022 regular meeting of the Gates County Board of Commissioners. I am Dr. Al Theoretic, the 2022 chair of the board. I'm joined this afternoon for temporarily with just what's left. I have Commissioner Craddock to my left. I have Commissioner Linda Hoffler to my right. I have the county attorney, Mr. Godwin, County Manager Tim Wilson, and the board clerk, Julitha Chestnut. Let us stand for opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, it's again that we've gathered in this meeting space to continue to do the business of Gates County. We pray that you be with us for a little while and settle down with us so that we can disagree but may not be disagreeable. We're thankful for being here. We're thankful for you waking us up this morning and giving us the mind to come out. We pray for all of those in the county, in the world that are sick and shut in. Give them traveling mercies if they're traveling. And when we're done here this Heavenly Father, please help us to go back home and reflect on what has been happening and do what we can to collectively move Gates County forward. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business is going to be the oath of office as administered by the clerk to the board, Mr. Letha Chestnut. She will call the candidates to the podium where she will administer the oath of office. After all of them have been given the oath of office, I'm going to take a 5 or 10 minute recess. So if you want to take pictures, you want to head for the hills and go home, you can do that, because we have, this is a business meeting, so we have business to tend to, but I'm going to take a recess so that you can move around, leave. And if you're going to leave, I thank you for coming. I thank you for sharing your loved ones with us on this board. You'll never see them again. I'm just telling you, you won't see them again. So thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your loved ones, and go Gates County. Ms. Chestnut
Okay, I'm going to call Commissioner Jonathan Craddock.
and his family.
Family. Too cute.
One's gotten loose.
The Bible, just remember, left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I, Jonathan Craddock,
I, Jonathan Craddock,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and maintain
and maintain
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of North Carolina,
and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will
and that I will
faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as Gates County Commissioner,
as Gates County Commissioner,
and that I will not allow
and that I will not allow
my actions
my actions
to be influenced
to be influenced
by personal
by personal
or political
or political
friendships
friendships
or obligations.
or obligations.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I now call Commissioner Brian Roundtree and family. Okay. I, Brian Roundtree,
I, Brian Roundtree,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and maintain
and maintain
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United
and
States
the laws of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of North Carolina,
and the laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as Gates County Commissioner,
as Gates County Commissioner,
and that I will
and that I will
not allow my actions
not allow my actions
to be influenced
to be influenced
by personal
by personal
or political
or political
friendships
friendships
or obligations.
or obligations.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I now call Commissioner Emily Truman and family. Whomever you want to hold the Bible for you. Okay.
Do you want to hold this one, Mama? Do you want to hold it? You want to hold it? You want me to hold it? Come here. Just hold it up with both hands. Okay. There we go.
Left hand on the Bible, raise right.
Yep.
I, Emily Truman,
I, Emily Truman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and maintain
and maintain
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as Gates County Commissioner,
as Gates County Commissioner,
and that I will
and that I will
not allow
not allow
my actions
my actions
to be influenced
to be influenced
by personal
by personal
or political friendships
or political friendships
or obligations.
or obligations.
So help me God.
So help me God.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess. So if anyone wants to leave at this time, they can do so. Won't take pictures, congratulate anyone. So I'm going to ask the IT person to put us in recess. Welcome back. We're getting ready to reconvene our regular meeting as others continue to leave. Now I will recognize the clerk to the board, Ms. Jolitha Chestnut, for organizational matters.
I need a motion for you all to open the floor for nominations.
So move.
Second.
We have a nomination on anyone selected to serve as chair? Anybody?
I make a motion, Althea Riddick.
I second that motion.
Well, right now you can't vote, you can just nominate. So you like to
Adam.
nominate?
And we don't have to have a second either, do we?
Not yet. Are there any other nominations to serve as chair? None being said, I need a motion to close the floor for nominations.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
We have a nomination, Dr. Althea Riddick, chosen the chair. Can I get a motion in the form of to approve Dr. Althea Riddick as chairman to the board for the Board of Commissioners? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
With that being said, I will now turn the agenda over to the board chair, Dr. Riddick.
Thank you, Ms. Chestnut. I will open the floor for nomination, election of officers, vice chair. You have a nomination?
Nominate Jonathan Craddock.
Any other nominations? Hearing none.
Make a motion that we close the nominations.
Need a
Second
second?
motion. Second motion that we close the nominations.
The nomination of Mr. Commissioner Jonathan Craddock as vice chair.
I need a motion in that form.
Need a motion that Commissioner Craddock serve as vice chair. Need a motion?
I make a motion
I make
that
a
Commissioner
motion.
Craddock serve as vice chair.
I second.
Okay.
Been properly motion and second for 2023. Mr. Jonathan Craddock serve as vice chair. Madam Clerk, is that all in proper order?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Before we go on to Board of Commissioners meeting schedule, let me just say that this is a new board. Whenever you have anyone come on new, it's a new board. So now we're going to start another new year at the Board of Commissioners, the governing body of Gates County. It is our desire, after having conversation with many on this board that you see before you, that we move forward as a unified board. We may disagree, but not going to be disagreeable. We're going to follow Robert Rules of Order. We're going to follow all the general statutes, administrative code, and any other regulatory things we have to do. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your assistance before you give assistance. And as chair and as vice chair, and he have something to say during it, write it down, Craddock. He's going to have something to say later on that we're going to move forward in this county and do the things that we've already put in place, and maybe some new things, but not a lot. We got a lot of work to do, and we need all the citizens to understand that we need you to move with us. A lot of things you don't understand, some things we can explain, some things we can't. But that's why you're having a governing body. And as the chair, I welcome all that want to call, talk to me, Some of you have, some of you have not. If you don't know me, get to know me. I don't bite. I bark, but I don't bite. And it's our intent as this governing body you see before us with the county attorney and the county manager and Jolitha Chestnut that we move this county forward in a way that we can be proud again of living in Gates County. That said, we're going to move on with the agenda. The Board of Commissioners meeting schedule, Commissioners, is in front of you, and there have been some changes that I would like to put before you. So get out your meeting schedule, the draft that was in your packet. Back in the summer, I made the statement that we needed some special meetings because we have so much work to do. We just can't meet once a month. So the special meetings are held on the first Wednesday of each month. The regular meetings will be held on the third Wednesday of each month, but the times have changed. So take a look at your times, Commissioners. If we have to go into closed session, and write this down so you know what you're voting on. If we have to go into closed session, it's proposed that we go into closed sessions at 5 o'clock. If we have to have a special meeting, it's proposed that we have the special meetings at 6:30. Our regular meetings will move to 6 o'clock, okay? Regular meeting 6 o'clock, special meeting 6:30, closed session 5 o'clock. We heard you when you, last year, you were saying you wanted, a little wiggle room, a little more time to get here. If you notice, it is dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the wintertime. And our staff sometimes has to stay over to help us in our meetings. And we don't want to abuse that. So we're going to start regular meetings if it's voted on. I'm just saying this is a proposal. We're going to discuss it in a few minutes. But that's why, Commissioners at your desk, I want you to write that down because I'm getting ready to ask for discussion of the 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting schedule. Is there any discussion from any of the commissioners?
I like the change, and thank you for the suggestions of moving the meeting later.
Okay.
I make a motion, we go ahead and approve the new schedule.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amended schedule of our meeting for the Board of Commissioners. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let me get my notes. Next is the appointment of the DSS Board, Department of Social Services. At your desk or in your packet, we received a chart from the director, Mr. Smith. He's here. I asked him to send me the chart of the persons that are currently serving on the DSS Board, along with the date appointed, the expired term, and whether they can up if they're eligible to be reappointed. See that?
No.
You don't see it?
No, ma'am.
Well, let me read it to you then. No problem. Serving on the DSS board are Renee McGinnis, and she's her term is not up until 2024. Then we have the State Social Services Commission. The state appoints a person or selects a person. That is Jonathan Jones, and his term is up 6/30/2023, and he is not eligible to be appointed again according to this chart. I'm looking at Mr. Smith here. Then we have State Social Services Commission appointment, Bernice Johnson. Her term expires in 2024, and she also is not eligible for reappointment once that's up. Then we have Erin Riddick. Her term is up also in 2024. And yes, it says upon completion of previous member's term, so she must have been taking someone else's term. So she is eligible once she gets to 2024 to be reinstated.
And what was that name?
Erin Riddick, E-R-I-N.
I just didn't understand.
Okay, Erin Riddick. There previously was Bernice Johnson, Jonathan Jones, Renee McGinnis. While we're talking about this, the Board of Commissioners appoints a person from the Board of Commissioners to serve on that board. And previously serving was Jack Owens. Mr. Jack Owens is no longer commissioner. That's why Mr. Smith contacted us with this charge, says, who do we recommend to serve, or who do we appoint, not recommend, who do we appoint to this board? I've been thinking about it, I've read about it, I talked briefly about it, and just listen. So we're going to discuss the recommendation, and I'll justify it in just a minute, and y'all can discuss it, that Brian Roundtree served on the DSS board. Why am I saying that? Why am I making that suggestion? And anybody else can jump in with another nomination. We need another male on that board. We need another African American on that board. We need a person that can get to the meetings and be engaged in those meetings on that board. I think he would be a good fit for Ms. McGinnis, Mr. Jones, Ms. Johnson, and Ms. Riddick. That's just the way I see it. If there's any other commissioner would like to put their name in the pot or nominate someone, this is your opportunity.
I will say that I was interested in DSS board. My full-time job, I work with mental health. I work with health services, and I will say I had interest in that based on the skill set that I have. There were certain boards that I was interested in. I did have that written down. I do understand your reasoning, though, for suggesting Mr. Roundtree, Commissioner Roundtree. But I will say that I was interested in that one just based on my skill set. I do feel I had something to offer to it based on my training in crisis intervention and dealing with mental health and wellness, dealing with seniors and juveniles and such through my job.
Anyone else? I have two nominations. Mr. Brian Roundtree and Ms. Emily Truman. Board Clerk,
Okay, can I have a show of hands for nominating Mr. Roundtree? Commissioner Hoffman, Commissioner Riddick, and Commissioner Roundtree. Can I have a show of hands for Emily Truman? I have Commissioner Truman and Commissioner Craddock. According to the vote, Mr. Roundtree has the seat.
Mr. Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Real quick, we are having a special meeting next Monday at 9 a.m. at our DSS office conference room. Meetings are normally held every fourth Monday of the month, other than November and December when we do hold special meetings. But they're always the fourth Monday of the month, 9 a.m., okay? And I'll be in contact with you. I'll give you my card, so if you can give me a call tomorrow morning so we can discuss a couple items. We have a big meeting on the books for this upcoming Monday, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next on the agenda is the board committee appointments. Okay, let me wait.
Even though we have a vote that is 3, can I get a properly motion?
Yes, you can. That's why you're the board clerk.
Yes. Am I correct, attorney?
Ma'am,
We had 3, but it still needs to be in a form of a motion.
correct.
So can I get a motion?
I made a motion, I'll make a motion for to fill the position of the DSS board with Brian Roundtree.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Keep it straight.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No nays, motion passed.
Okay. Now for the 2023 proposed committee assignments. We have a lot of committee assignments, committees that we appoint, chair appoints them, to serve on committees. We have 2 new committees that are very important. They're also going to be listed. So as I go through them, I want you to write down your name and what board you have been appointed to. And once we get through this, we can not always, We can talk about it at another meeting, because I want you to look at it, go through it. I try to match up your skill sets. That's one of the reasons I asked for your resume. And I looked at the committees as far as how they were assigned last time. And since we have a vacancy, I had to shift it around. I did the best not best I could. I did what I thought would fit not only your skill set, but the time it's going to take for you to fulfill these. So let's get started. All the commissioners serve on the Board of Equalization and Review. All commissioners serve on the Economic Development Commission. Commissioner Linda Hoffler, Albemarle Commission, Albemarle Rural Planning Transportation Advisory Committee, Perquimans, Chowan, and Gates Landfill Commission, and the new committee is Tourism Advisory Committee. Commissioner Jonathan Craddock, the Broadband Action Task Force, the Perquimans, Chowan, and Gates Landfill Commission, the Albemarle Regional Social Waste Management Authority, the WIOA Consortium, and Northeast Workforce Development Board. Commissioner Brian Roundtree, you've already been appointed to the Gates County Board of Social Services, the Albemarle Regional Health Services Board of Health, the Trillium Health Resources Northern Regional Board, and the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. Commissioner Emily Truman, the Gates County Medical Transportation Board, the Northeast Workforce Development Board, the Tri-County Animal Shelter, and the new one, which is a heavy lift, the Gates County Opiate Prevention and Intervention Advisory Committee. That committee is a new committee. We have right now about $42,000 for us to get started in getting our opiate address and intervention started. We have over $512,000 over 18 years, but we're going to get more money because A.G. Stein is still getting money from litigation, so that's going to increase. It's very important that we get ourselves together and address this opiate crisis in this county and the drug overdose, and most of all, the prevention. There are going to be certain people, Ms. Truman just has to serve on that committee. We will get with you on that. There's a portal that you can go to and draw down the best practices, and they're very good as far as what other counties are doing, and you fit it to what we see in Gates County. Some of the people that must be on, not people, personnel, must be first responders, the Office of the Sheriff, Emergency Management, Emergency Services, the school systems, the faith-based, mental health, that's very important, and also the Albemarle Rural Health personnel. So that is going to be a very, very important lift for this county. The Personnel Board is still in effect. We're moving from the ordinance to the Personnel Board, but that hasn't been finalized yet. So temporarily, until we can get that personnel policy instituted, on the Personnel Board is going to be Althea Riddick and Jonathan Craddock. The other committees that I will have as chair is Broadband Action Task Force, the Gates Aging and Adult Services Task Force, the Gates County Partners for Health, and the Gates Interregional Transportation System Board. Many of these boards did not shift. They just shift places. You don't have former Commissioner Freeman and former Commissioner Owens. So I had to take theirs and divvy them up like that. So, and I tried not to bother with the other boards that people are already serving on for consistency and constant. So that's why it's divided up like that. Madam Chair, sometimes in the next few days, you need to draft the introduction letter to the committee's chairpersons across the state or across the county, so that they'll know that, like an introduction to who's going to serve on their committees. And you also provide the commissioners with the dates and time that they meet, just like Mr. Smith just did for DSS. They need to know when they meet, the days they meet, and there will be updates that's required. You serve as a liaison between the citizens and the board when you serve on these committees. You do not have authority in personnel or to spend money. So as you sit on these boards, you're there to listen and to offer suggestions, how we can help them, how the board can help them, and what we need to know from these boards. So it's important if the citizens, when these boards have openings, or these committees have openings, that you apply. Some people have to rotate off. The board clerk keeps up with that. So we're looking for citizens to really get engaged in the county as far as helping us understand what's going on and how we can help from the governance. We are governance. We don't deal with it day to day. We're governance. So when you're on these committees, remember that, and don't oversell the board. Come back talking about you told them we had $100,000 for them. Don't do that. No. Tell them we'll talk about it. I know credit. He'll sell everything. but we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Okay? We'll be talking to you about the board clerk. We'll get in touch with you about these boards. And if you missed it, Madam Clerk, it'll be on my desk when you pick up the other and distribute them for me. You've seen the agenda. I need an approval of the agenda or a motion to modify the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to modify. I would like to add something to the agenda.
And what would you like to add?
I'd like to add, I had a communication from Angel White, who is the manager of the landfill, and there was an issue at Gates that I'd like to discuss at the Gates convenience site.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. I need a motion to approve it first. Give me a motion to approve the modification of the agenda to add the convenience site. I need a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Crowder, second
Second.
by Brian Roundtree. You'll add that appropriately on the agenda, Madam Clerk. Just remind us to add it. Is this old business? Because we talked about this before.
Yeah, I'd put it under old business.
Old business, that'll be C. Oh, no, it'll be A. B, it'll be B.
Be under old business.
B on the old business. Okay. Okay. Now, do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, we approve the amended agenda. All in favor, aye. Ayes have it, unless we have someone that has a nay. Next, number 3 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda are items that will go on that have been put before us, and is usually not to be discussed because it's so evident what we have to do. Some things we just have to do, and that's put together. And you see it, all of them are budget amendments put together by Ms. Outland. She's here, and you can look at those in your packet. But all these amendments are things we must do. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I make a motion to second.
All in favor? Aye. Consent agenda approved. Okay. Next, we have public comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Since we have no, whether we have any or not, the attorney has something he needs to read about public comments. Mr. Godwin?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say that free speech, and we always welcome, the board always welcomes public comments, but also, as part of our bylaws, I've been requested to read our bylaws regarding citizens' comments. The Gates County Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of citizen participation for legislative functions and so desires to receive community input on items being brought before the Board of Commissioners, or which are directly under the legislative jurisdiction of this board. Therefore, in compliance with North Carolina General Statute 153A 52.1, the Gates County Board of Commissioners establishes citizen comments to be allowed at the beginning of each regularly scheduled monthly meeting per vote on 7/17/2020. The following rules shall apply to citizens' comments. Speakers shall sign up and speak at the beginning of the meeting on a designated citizens' comment form. Speakers must announce their name and their voting district. Speakers shall be granted 5 minutes to speak before the board. However, the chair may extend the time allotted if agreed upon by the board. A speaker may not speak more than once during the same citizen comment period. To steer away from repetition, groups of citizens or individuals who are a part of the same group or who expect to have the same beliefs are encouraged to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. Speakers shall only address the Board of Commissioners from the front of the room. Comments shall not be directed towards any staff members, meeting guests, or audience members. The board shall not entertain any questions from the audience, and discussions between speakers and members of the audience shall be prohibited. It is in the discretion of the board if citizen comments are received at any meeting in addition to the regular scheduled monthly meeting, such as a special meeting, emergency meeting, work session, or committee meetings. Speakers shall maintain proper behavior and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks and the use of vulgar or obscene language is strictly prohibited. And such behavior, if such behavior happens, the individual shall be asked to leave. The chairman may direct the sheriff or any other member of the staff to remove unruly guests. Citizens' comments are not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. The board shall refrain from engaging in any kind of dialogue except to the point necessary to clarify the speaker's position. Action on items brought up before the citizens' comments period will be at the discretion of the board. And I just really read this so that we start off this year in a better tenure than we at sometimes saw last year. These are our bylaws, and we can agree to disagree, but we need to be civil about it, and we need to treat each other with dignity. And personal attacks against any member of the board or not really, to me, in my mind, anything that should be here in this room.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. Next is public hearing. The Gates County Community Transportation Program application by Patrice Lassiter, the GITS vans. Is Patrice here? I need a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Public hearing is open. You have it in your packet. And Ms. Lassiter will present. How are you?
All right, thank you. This evening, I want to present the capital part of the grant. I think the last time when I came to present the grant, I explained that we didn't have the capital portion because they had not got bids for vehicles. So they have since got the bids, and in this fiscal year, we were up for 1 vehicle. And in FY22, we were approved for 3 vehicles, one of which we were not able to get because the cost increased so much, so we had to rescind that one so we could apply again this year. So this year, we're asking to apply for 1 vehicle with a lift for $85,000 and 1 vehicle without a lift for $96,000. $1,000, and $1,200 for signage, to put the names and the phone number on the vehicles, which is a total of $182,200. The federal portion of that would be $145,760. The state portion is $18,220, and the local portion is $18,220. I have put that we would use our reserve funds. We generally don't have to do that because generally when we sell the vehicles, we get enough to cover that. But to make it clean, I have asked to secure the reserve funds. And that's all I have for the capital portion.
Let's have discussion with Patrice and the board. Do we have any questions or clarification or comments from anyone?
Okay, our portion would be $18,200, I believe.
$220.
But we will sell this
We will sell the two.
just in case that we don't get 18,000.
Yes.
That's fine.
Right.
Okay.
We're just using this up front, and then we'll sell the vehicles and
Yes,
recoup some of the
backfill.
money.
Yes, sir.
So,
Sounds good.
Is there anyone signed up for comments to? No, ma'am, okay. Any other questions? Motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing is closed. I need a motion to approve fiscal year 2024 capital grant application.
So moved.
Second? Someone second?
Second.
Okay. Properly moving second that we approve the fiscal year 2024 capital grant application. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you do.
All right, moving right along. Old business, the board consideration of contract for lobbying services. Wolfstein LLC, that's going to be managed or discussed with by county manager, we'll discuss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This business was brought before you a few times. Both representatives from Wolfstein LLC and Jones Street Consulting came, discussed with the board about lobbying services. The two companies would work in tandem. One of the representatives would basically be feet on the ground here in northeastern North Carolina, while the other did his work primarily with the General Assembly in Raleigh. There was language that was requested to be added to the contracts concerning reporting to the board to make sure that that occurred. At the last meeting, we only had one of the contracts, and the board was of the mind to want to take action on both of these contracts at the same time. So for you this evening, you have both contracts. The language is identical. They have the reporting figures, and they are also at the amount that was originally represented to you for the cost of these services. And this is before you for your discretion should you wish to secure lobbying services for Gates County.
You've heard the presentation by the county manager. Is there any, let's have some discussion.
I thought about this. As a result of the recent elections, our legislative delegation from northeastern North Carolina that affects Gates County has changed a great deal. We do not have the familiar faces that we had prior to the election. It is a financial obligation. However, I look at it as an investment because I don't know if any of us on the board has enough time to keep up with all the ins and outs of the General Assembly that would affect Gates County. Certainly, we probably could not reach the people who are having to make the decisions in a timely fashion. And as I've read the papers, I know Paquimans and Elizabeth City and Camden, and I believe Chowan have all joined in with this service. So, you know, I think we need to have a seat at the table or have someone who can make the phone calls if we need something to get some action.
And I'd kind of like to argue the opposite, just because we do have new representation, giving them the fair opportunity to see what they're going to bring to the table for Gates County before we get into a financial agreement with these two. I could be remembering incorrectly, but I was at the meeting where they presented their offer and such to us, and from what I remember they offered was they were a 2-for-1, were some terms that were used, and that they would be, the way they presented it sounded as though they would be presenting 2 contract options, not what they did present, which is 2 contracts, 1 for each of them, making them not a 2-for-1, but a 1 and 1. I don't like that it was misrepresented unless I'm incorrect in that. And I did go back and watch it, but I feel it was misrepresented, which left a bad taste in my mouth, for one. And again, we have new representatives for our area, and I think that they deserve the opportunity to work for us before we spend this money.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I believe it would be in our best interest to have representation. And representation is experienced representation. We will have somebody at the General Assembly who can help us get appropriations, who can lobby for us, who have an inside network, which would be beneficial to Gates County.
Mr. Craddock?
Well, everybody brings up good points. I'm not completely sold on it myself. Like I said, everybody brings up the good points. All the counties to our east are going with it. I can't get on board with it right now. I like to give our new members of that's been elected an opportunity, like Ms. Truman was saying, but Ms. Hoffman, Mr. Rantry here, they bring up good, valid points also. But as of right now, for myself, I'd like to give our new elected officials an opportunity before we get in a financial
I'd like to make
situation.
2 points.
Ms. Hoffman?
I mean, I don't know if we have time to let them, their learning curve, that we will lose sight on things because they don't have the connections in Raleigh, because it's going to be a learning things for them.
It is.
And when I was visiting the General Assembly, they were all in agreement that the money for these various grants that they are putting out on the table that we might be eligible for, that money was not going to last until probably this session. So while they are learning, the money's going to be spent, and I'm afraid we're going to be left without anything. That we will not get the appropriations or the grants that we might be eligible for. Getting back to Mrs. Truman's point for 2-for-1, I think the way I took it, 1 would be in Raleigh, 1 would be here. That way Steinberg would be arraigned here, seeing us and seeing the various people, and the Stein would be in Raleigh, keeping a pulse, keeping a hand on the pulse in Raleigh. That's the way I took for 2-for-1. That they would be in tandem, conversing. But maybe I was mistaken.
Hearing everyone's discussion, now I will weigh in with my take on this. I see it as an investment, and I see it as a now or never. I am very confident that the representatives that are going to represent us in Raleigh are going to do a fantastic job, but they are junior representatives. We don't even know what committees they're going to be assigned to. That appropriation committee and those budget committees that lead to appropriations are very important. Gates County is east of I-95. We struggle with other counties to get appropriations or even to get a seat at the table. I have no doubt that Representative Hanna and Representative Bill Ward would do fantastic. But this is a long session. It's going to start January the 3rd when they are seated and sworn in. They will receive their committee assignments, and we don't know what their assignments are. But when you are a freshman, it's very difficult to break into those committees that actually have the purse strings. Ms. Hoffler is correct. The appropriations that we need, the grants that we need, some of the bills, it's not all about money either. It's about some of those bills that they write us right out because we're so small. When I say we, I'm not talking about just Gates County. I'm talking about other small counties. We're not at the table. Steinberg has been there. Stansel has been there. If you've been watching the papers, the Daily Advance and other papers, and of course the Gates County Index, you see the millions of dollars that have flown to the, been appropriated to the east of us. And it's because of Steinberg and Howard Hunter. I'm just going to say it. And they had projects. Those projects that were funded were put in place years ago. And they worked it through the pipeline. We got 2 appropriations this past year because of Howard Hunter and Steinberg. And we had a project. Yes, it was somebody else's project, but we used it because we needed it. So you have to understand how this works. The money is there, but it's not going to stay there. The appropriations are there, but you got to know how to work it. The ARPA funds are there, but it's going to change. And if you keep up with what's going on, you'll see the changes, not only in Raleigh, but the federal government. So here we sit needing funding that we can't afford to pay ourselves. Whether it's a grant without a match. If you notice all the grants that we apply for, there's no match, okay? But we also need the appropriations that they actually look at a project and say, that's worth funding. And have somebody there on a daily basis to understand what we're trying to fund and be there on the ground in Raleigh, as well as working Northeast North Carolina. That's my take on it. I don't see it as a cost. When I look at things in Gates County and others, I look at it as an investment. Because $3,000 a month, and we can end this contract, am I correct, County Manager, if we don't see them doing or reporting, that we can ask to get out of this contract?
It's a 2-year term.
2-year term, right, 2-year term.
Term contract, you know, should you find that they're in breach of, you know, the terms of the contract, probably be more appropriate for the county attorney, but as with any contract, if you find that they are not satisfying the obligations, yes, you could seek to terminate that contract.
Is that correct, County Attorney, if they breach it?
Yes, ma'am. As far as I know, I mean, I've reviewed the contract, and I'll say this from experience. My father was Speaker of the House of North Carolina years ago, 1970, and in the Senate, and represented this area. And you all, I think you are correct in stating that it takes a little bit of experience and some months under your belt before you can elevate to really be level with the other members of the legislature. So I don't think it'd be money wasted.
Any further or closing comments before I ask for the, where am I? Ask for the vote? I'm looking at my cheat sheet. Yes, I got a cheat sheet up here. I see you peeping at it, Coretta. Sorry. Any further before I ask for the vote? All right, hearing none, I need a motion to approve or disapprove the Wolfstein LLC contract for lobbying service and the Jones Street Consulting contract for lobbying services.
I make a motion that we approve it because I just think it's now or never for us with some of these grants possibilities.
I could, Madam Chair, since they are separate contracts, you could act on them separately.
Do y'all, is it the pleasure of this board to act on it separately? You want to do separate
Fine
or
with me.
together? What do you think, Craddock?
I mean, together's fine.
Together's fine?
No, I think it's got to be separate. Two separate
Gotta be separate.
contracts, it's got to be two separate.
It gets back to the
Okay.
discussion.
I
know,
got you.
Maybe one party wasn't fulfilling, but you could have another party, so I think it would be best probably to have them separate actions, since you could potentially take separate actions.
Withdraw my motion.
Another motion, then we withdraw that motion.
I make a motion that we approve a contract with Steinberg,
This is Wolfstein.
with
Wolfstein.
Wolfstein. So,
And I second that motion.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve the contract with Wolfstein LLC. And instead of saying aye or no, you won't raise hands so that, because we have, different opinions, which is fine, okay? All in favor of approving the contract with Wolfstein, raise your hand. All that disapprove, raise your hand. Madam Clerk, I wasn't looking.
The votes for ayes are Riddick, Hoffler, Roundtree. Nays, Truman, and Craddock. The motion passes.
Next is Jones Street Consulting. Action requested, motion to approve or disapprove Jones Street Consulting contract for lobbying services.
Made a motion to approve Jones Street.
Do I have a second?
a second.
It's been properly motioned and second to approve the Jones Street Consulting lobbying contract. All in favor, raise your hand. All disapprove, raise your hand. Madam Clerk?
Okay. Ayes are Hoffler, Riddick, Roundtree. Nays, Truman, Craddock. Motion passes.
All right. We added an old business under B, convenience sites and gates. Ms. Hopper?
Yes, I received a email from Angel White, who is the manager of the landfill operation. The site attendant, this happened today at Gates. The site attendant at the Gates site had an issue with a customer today, continuing to dispose of poultry trays that he had been told twice before by the attendant that he was not permitted to throw them at the site, They have to be taken to the Belvedere site. The PCG Landfill Commission Board members had discussed this in March of 2018 and determined that this type of waste was considered commercial trash and therefore was not permitted in the convenience site. Per the Gates County Solid Waste Ordinance, community members using the site are to follow the verbal instructions provided by the site attendant. This person this person not only refused to follow instructions, but also dumped non-permitted waste at the site. The attendant did record the license plate of the vehicle, and Mrs. White sent this to me and asked for any assistance that we can provide.
What site was this at?
It's Gates.
The Gates site.
And I do remember that we had said that those trays could not, because they fill up one of the containers very quickly. So I told her I would mention it tonight. Certainly, It is in our ordinance.
If I can, Madam Chair. I believe I checked my emails very quickly before I came up here, and I think this issue is already being currently addressed by the Gates County Sheriff's Department by Captain Freeman. I believe he's identified the persons or the parties responsible to who the vehicle was registered. The sheriff
great.
is here, I think. If you can, I think, verify for me that, I believe that to be correct. So the Sheriff Department is actively pursuing this on behalf of Gates County.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thanks for that update. So we'll wait and see what happens with that, but be mindful that when you go to these convenience sites, you are to follow the instructions of the person's own site and how they have those bins or containers labeled. And if you see something, say something. All right, moving right along, new business, appointment of the budget officer and approval of contract for CPA. Ms. Outland is here. Would you come to the podium? This is very important. Everything's important, but this is dealing with, and let me just say, she's dressed up tonight because this is her last board meeting. She has a new job, so she decided to dress up on her way out. So let's give her a hand for a job well done.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss you, Miss Outland.
I'm gonna miss Gates County.
She's going over to Albemarle Regional Health as their finance director.
Yes.
So that's a good career move for her. So we're proud of her that we trained her well to get another. We train them and they leave. But anyway, but
And I
thank
still
you.
see some of you guys at the
You'll
meetings,
see
yeah.
us. I'm quite sure. That.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are at a juncture here of looking at a contract for CPA proposal with Isley. It's in your packets if you want to turn to that. And briefly, just share with us about, and you and the county manager, because, you know, we're making some moves while we're looking for or recruiting, searching for a finance director. Mr. Wilson, you want to take the lead and y'all just explain?
Yeah, just as a little bit of introduction into this issue, the state statute requires all local governments and other public entities to have a designated finance officer, and that person typically is the finance director for the organization. So with the departure of Ms. Allison, we're going to have a vacancy. We will not have a finance officer. So the board is required to appoint another official as the finance officer, and that the budget officer is identified as by the state statute as a person that this duty can be imposed upon. And tonight you will have to do two things. One would be first, that what you must is do the appointment of a finance officer until such time a new finance director can be hired and those duties assumed again. And in order to assist with that, you also have a proposal from Greg Isley, CPA, and this is to help perform the duties and work of the finance officer during this time period.
Okay. That sums it up. So we have to appoint finance director?
A finance
Finance
officer.
officer.
Finance officer, excuse me, a finance officer. And then the CPA firm that we have here would be like outsourcing the day-to-day until we can get someone in here. And I think we've used them before.
I believe that was the group that Gates County was using right before I was hired. Luckily, our audit is turned in to the LGC, so that's one thing that's taken care of, and all of the bigger items that are due up until this point are taken care of. So you guys are in good shape in the interim.
Okay.
And this company can be used for the upcoming budget process. I know the finance staff, I don't want them to be inundated with a lot of what I'm doing because we are such a small staff as it is, but there are certain things that they can keep doing until you do hire another finance officer. And you can use the CPA group to handle the big tasks like this upcoming budget season and any of the other like bigger tasks that you feel like need to be done.
Okay.
So they will not be here on a daily basis. It'll be just when we call.
The great majority of this work can be done remote.
Remote, okay.
That's good because it saves a lot. We're investing again, but anything we can save without them having to be on the ground would be beneficial to us. But we do have, you told me just before the meeting that the funds are there.
The funds are there, so we don't need to do this budget amendment.
Right.
That's on the agenda. We're
You
good.
have a budget amendment on your agenda. You can take that off. I talked to Kim just before the meeting started, so we don't need to do that. It's in there somewhere.
I just want to also make the board aware, if you were not, that when you do get a finance officer in place, the bond requirements have changed significantly.
The bond requirements.
The bond requirements, it's either 10% of your entire budget up to the max of 1 million. So I think the requirement starts in January. For us, it would be the max of 1 million.
Okay. Mr. County Manager, Mr. Attorney, make note that we got a bond coming up that we have to take care
In
of.
January,
In January.
right.
That's when the bond requirement amount
It
changes.
changes in January, so make note of that, Ms. Chestnut, so we don't lose sight of that. January 2023. Let's get back to the business at hand. Appointment of the finance officer, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So we need a motion to appoint Islet? No.
The
to-
finance, let me start so everybody's quiet. I recommend, and hopefully this doesn't last long, that the county manager serve as the budget officer because he is in charge of that budget as county manager. He's going to be going into developing the budget for next year. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't see anybody, I don't know of anyone else on the ground in our organization that can do that or have the time to do that at this point.
Yeah.
Hopefully and prayerfully, it won't last long and we can recruit somebody. We're recruiting now, but we're falling short right now.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the county manager as the finance officer.
And let me just interject real quick. The budget officer and finance officer are two different roles. So he currently is our budget officer. We just need him appointed as the finance
I'll make it
officer.
clear that the finance officer.
Yes.
He needs to be the finance
He
officer.
needs to be the finance
He
officer.
needs to be the
Isn't
finance.
that what I just said, finance
I
officer?
think you did, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
I
right.
make a motion that we approve our county manager as our finance officer.
I second the motion.
It's been properly moved and second that the county manager, Mr. Timothy Wilson, be the interim finance officer for Gates County. I think I got that right. All in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Might encourage people to get the finance officer.
We recruit too sweet. Somebody in here. So the contract, you can take that amendment off. It's already in the budget?
Yes, that's correct. It's already in the budget.
Okay. Okay, that's good. All right.
Make a motion to go in the contract, right? We still need to make a motion to go in the contract.
Do we still need a motion for the contract? It would be good, I think, for documentation. I need a motion to approve what is it? Greg W. Isley, CPA, PA, Certified Public Accountant. You have it in your packet.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we approve the contract with Greg W. Isley. All in favor?
Aye.
Again, Kim, we wish you well, but it's bittersweet, but you look good in your dress.
And you guys have my number if you have any questions.
Don't go nowhere.
Give me a call.
We're going to try not to call you too much, but we will be on the phone with you. We have a number of items from the school system, and the school system's not here because they have their meeting this afternoon, too. If you look in your packet, you'll see the grant project ordinance for Gatesville Elementary renovation project. You see the grant project ordinance for Gates County High additions and renovation project. And so, with no one being here, if you have any questions, I would ask Ms. Outland to come back to the podium to discuss any of those. You have any questions about those two items about the school system's renovation projects? Hearing none. The action required is a motion to approve or disapprove the grant project ordinance, but I'm taking one at a time. Project for Gatesville Elementary renovation project.
I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second the motion.
Been properly second that we approve the grant project ordinance for Gatesville Elementary renovation project. All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve or disapprove the grant project ordinance for Gates County High additions and renovation project.
So move.
Second.
Been properly motioned and second that we approve the project ordinance for Gates County High additions and renovation project. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Moving right along. Discussion of replacement of water meters. Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to briefly update the board, as you've been advised before, we have quite a few water meters in our system, probably at least 1/4 that are either not operational or defective to the point that they're considered non-operational, and all of those customers are being charged a minimum billing amount for the 2-month period. As the Public Utility Director has indicated before, when meters start to fail, they start to fail in one direction. They don't overcount, they undercount. So we believe there's probably still a large percentage of meters out there because of their age that they're undercounting, but they're not undercounting to such an extent that we know that it's not functioning properly. So it's very hard to determine how much revenue is being lost due to broken and defective meters. The Public Utility Director, he took the initiative and did set up a meeting that we had with some company representatives who actually do this business. They work with localities. They've worked with a number of rural localities here in northern and eastern North Carolina in doing exactly what we need done, replacing our water meters. And we're looking at replacing our water meters with automatic read so that it makes that process highly more efficient and much more error-free in the recording of the information of the meters. We are going to have a follow-up meeting with the same company representatives that we met with, and part of the purpose of this is trying to get some more precise numbers, so we know exactly what would it cost to replace all of our existing meters and replace with the automatic read meters. And that's important to get a handle on that number because the second step from that would be, once we have a good number, is to start taking a look at the different financial options we would have. It's probably going to be to an amount of money that, no, we would not be able to pay with it from our fund balance, but we would need to do some type of financing, whether it's just a conventional loan, whether it be a general obligation bond, or possibly even a revenue bond, since this is, a project that does generate revenue. And knowing the exact amount or a very, very good estimate definitely has an influence on which one of those options may be the most advantageous. So that's what I am working along with Brad, in that we are trying to get that together and bring a proposal back to this board as quickly as possible as to the cost, the time, and a recommended financing option to get this done. Both of us find this to be the number one priority of that utility system. I find it to be probably the number one priority in the county, that this project move ahead as quickly as possible.
Okay. Comments from the commissioners? Mr. Craddock?
I know y'all want to look at them and get the cost for them. Is there a way, I know we're losing, by that report, we're losing millions of gallons of water over a year. Is there a way that we could see a cost savings of, because I know we're losing treated water, if I'm not mistaken.
That,
And it costs.
yes, absolutely.
I mean, it don't have to be
Public-
exact, but around about, how long will this project take to pay for itself?
We're thinking this project is probably going to pay for itself in pretty short order. Once we get a price, we will know that much better. Public Utilities is working as quickly as they can in repairing the breaks that we do have. Right now, the process for them to read these meters the way we're doing it, having each and every one physically read, write it down, that information has to be, data entry from another person. It's about a 3-week process, and if we go to the automatic read, that's going to go from 3 weeks to probably 3 days, which is going to free up a tremendous amount of time for Public Utilities to address all the other physical deterioration needs of that system. And that's another reason why that's so critically important.
Does it take a couple of people to read meters in that length of time, 2 or 3?
Yeah.
6 reading to get everything read in 3 weeks. So yeah, that's
Yes. I agree with you. I'd much rather be plugging the holes and repairing the pipes. We have other needs of the system that need to be addressed. And yes, his staff would be, just the opportunity cost that we have associated with his staff is spending that much time doing nothing but reading the meters has a real cost attached to it, to where they could be doing many other things to update and get this system running like it should be.
Okay. Any other comments for this discussion? I will say that I've talked with, I think some of you were here, but the board was here, and I saw some, Ms. Truman and Mr. Roundtree in the audience when Mr. Tart was here. And he gave us a presentation, and I think that's in case you didn't get it, it's in your packet somewhere. And I've talked to him since then. I've talked to the county manager since then. And he strongly recommends that that's the number one priority right now is get those meters. And he still have a grant out there trying to help us pay for them. He will know that in February. So in his recommendation, when we get the analysis, the cost and everything that you bring, to wait and see if we get the grant. Get everything in place, like what we're probably going to pay for and everything, but do not order. And he's going to contact us again because he's almost, I won't say he can't guarantee anything. You know how grants are, you don't know, we're in competition with everybody. So yeah, cross your fingers there. We may get the money to pay for them, we may not, depends on how much it costs. But then we can do, the next discussion is about water rates, and I'll get to that when we get to that. But do you think you can bring us something in January about the meters to the January meeting? Like a
I hope
cost?
so. If not by the 1st, definitely by the 2nd, because we'll take the information from the companies that do this work. My plan then is to speak with their Davenport company, Municipal Finance Advisors, and with that information, knowing the type of project, they'll be able to run some scenarios as to what would be,
Okay.
the best funding option for us to pursue.
Good.
And we have used Davenport before
Yes,
with the school system.
I highly
So
recommend
they're
them.
familiar with Gates County.
Yes.
Okay. So the action item is for the county manager to continue his research with the public utility director, with the companies, and get some hard figures or best we can as far as an analysis of cost, how long, and all of that, and do some scenarios, and bring that back, hopefully in January. So we'll have a good figure to work with, and you work with Davenport for options and scenarios as far as how we could finance it. Okay?
Need that in form of a motion?
I think I need that in form of a motion.
That's just instructions.
We instruct you, county manager, to buy
Do your
those,
homework and get back with us.
get those
I'll run it by
water.
the finance officer, see what he thinks about it.
That's you. Okay. So that's good. Okay. Next item, and we're just about done. I know people about fall asleep, but anyway. Public Utility Department fees, County Manager Timothy Wilson. We have application fees, service fee, and the water rate fees.
Yes, and that is not an all-inclusive list. There was discussion at a previous meeting with the board about, there was discussion about the water rate fees, but there's also a number of fees that either are not being charged, such as a simple application fee to help defray some administrative costs, and also a security deposit fee. We do not charge that, and we've had, a lot of incidents where people seem to not pay their last bill, and we think, at least I do, that a security deposit would go a long way in preventing that. Brad, the Public Utility Director, he has pointed out that a number of the fees that we have for the different types of installation work that they do, setting meters, repair, for new service, may not even be covering our cost. And so what he's going to do is to do a comprehensive review of all of the fees that are charged by the Public Utilities Department. So, because as the board knows, in order for you to either impose a new fee or tax or to increase one, you must have a public hearing. So it'd be good to look at this department in its entirety, come to you with a proposal for public hearing, and then take all that forward. And our time schedule for that is to try to have something for the board for you to take a look at your special meeting in early January. If that looks satisfactory to the board, I've consulted with the clerk. That only requires a 1-week advertisement, and if the board wanted to move expeditiously on that, you could have your public hearing on that proposal as early as your regular meeting in January.
Okay. I'm looking at the special meeting is January the 4th, and the regular meeting is January the 18th. So by the month of January is when we're going to actually hear from you and the Public Utilities Director as far as all the fees comprehensively. So we
Yes.
can move on them. We are expecting a comprehensive report. We want to see what it is, what it should be, and justification.
Yes.
And I do understand that we, according to Mr. Tark, when he was here, we need to raise the water rate immediately so we can show that we're paying for the repairs and can sustain what we're doing with everything. So January works for that analysis. I would like to say also that he also shared with us that we're also going to do a comprehensive water rate analysis with a company that's going to do that for us. So in the stopgap, we're going to raise the rate incrementally so we can start generating some revenue. We got to put some money back in that piggy bank, like another term. And then the water rate company that we secure will do a water rate analysis, and they will have some good data if we can get get everything in place. And that will probably be done next summer, because that'll give us 6 months of data for them to work with, the water analysis company. There are a few companies that'll do it free. I can't remember the names of them, but it's in my little black book. They would do a water rate. You have to get on the list. I think we got on the list when we went to a meeting.
In Hertford.
In Hertford, they put us on a list, but the list is so long because so many counties, have they're under distress just like we are. So we're on a list. So we're going to circle back around and see what that looks like with Mr. Tarr and move from there. But so again, like he just said the previous time, we need to instruct the county manager and the Public Utilities Director to do a comprehensive review of all the fees in public utilities and bring back a comprehensive analysis of what it is, what it should be, and the justification. That way we got one full shot, then we do a public hearing, and then move from there. Public hearing means that the citizens get to weigh in, come to the podium and, have to say about the proposed fee schedules, fee increase. Any other discussion?
I would just say that when we were talking with these grant folks, they're not going to approve a grant if the municipality or the county that they're dealing with is not generating enough funds to cover their costs. So we've got to have an accurate cost figure, how much it's costing us and how much we're collecting.
Yeah, now what,
It has to have sustainability.
what the director and I are going to bring back, we can quantify the fees and some of the other costs, but it is very difficult. Both of us agree to try to ascertain what would be a minimum amount in terms of a rate increase, because the amount of revenue that the system should be generating is such a great unknown. So we're going to leave that decision to the discretion of the board. If you feel that that needs to be raised, we will leave that to your discretion to decide what that minimum amount would be, because we do believe that that analysis of getting those meters in and getting probably at least 2 billing cycles underneath our belts to get us at least a good estimate of what we should have been bringing in is where you can start quantifying it and saying to operate the system, to do the debt service, and also the little bit extra that you need to maintain and keep that system current. It's extremely difficult with that revenue being such a great unknown right now.
Okay. I think the water rate analysis that's going to be done by a professional will help in that regard. And temporarily, we can do the best we can trying to guesstimate. And I love how you slip that in there, that's up to the board. I just love the way he just threw us right under the bus. Okay. All right, we governing. You hear you.
What date was the meeting where he came and spoke with us?
Oh, that was our, the last special meeting, November the 8th.
November.
It's in November.
No, it was November the 10th.
November the 10th.
I think it was November the 10th.
So I would recommend to everyone, all the citizens, to go on YouTube and watch
Watch
that.
it.
It will, it'll open your eyes. It opened mine. I was very, very surprised, very disappointed. But we're working to correct it.
It didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be fixed overnight, but we got to work toward fixing it.
That's right.
Okay. Next item is the bond approval for sheriff attorney, Godwin.
Yes. Madam Chairman, Sheriff Campbell has presented, I think, to the board, clerk to the board, new bond, and I talked to him and also talked to the issuer of the bond and talked to the county manager in regards to the language needed to be in the bond, which was the state of North Carolina is actually the one that is bonded, not Gates County. And in past years, we found out that it was Gates County. But at any rate, it is correct, and I would like, the original bond needs to go to our clerk of court. And I would like to thank Sheriff Campbell for following through, and he and I have had various conversations about it. But I do need for y'all to approve the bond, a motion to approve it, and a vote, and then the original bond needs to be held in the clerk of court's office.
Okay. You've heard the attorney. You have any questions for Mr. Godwin?
And that bond is in the state statute. It says you can impose it up to a maximum amount of $25,000, and the bond has been increased to that maximum amount now.
That's correct, because it costs the same thing to have the 25,000 bond as it did the 7,500 bond.
$7,500. Okay. All right. So the action request is a motion to approve or disapprove the bond approval for the sheriff.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion to approve. I have a motion to approve and a second to approve the bond approval for sheriff. All in favor? Okay, ayes have it. Just about there. Next, transfer of E911 dispatching to sheriff department, sheriff office. Let's get that right. It's the office of the sheriff. By the attorney.
Yes, ma'am. In regards to the transfer of 911, Sheriff Campbell has provided, I gave every one of you a handout.
It's on your desk in front of you somewhere. There's a handout from,
Tonight. The first handout is entitled Gates County Organizational Chart, and then the second handout has to do with the job summary for 911 Communications Department. And it would be my recommendation for the board to look closely at this and then give me your input, because I will be working on a resolution satisfactory to both parties, to the board and to the sheriff, as far as making a transfer sometime in the future.
it's in front of you. We just received this as we walked in the door. So you need to take it with you. You need to look at it. You need to mark it up. Any questions, you need to refer them to the attorney. We have given the Office of the Sheriff multiple documents through the county attorney. So any questions you have, any concerns you have, you need to write them down, and you need to type them up and send them to Attorney Godwin, okay? Once we are satisfied, as a board, we will take a vote. I'm quite sure the attorney will bring back the comments and whatever, and he'll work through that. So sometime, like he said, in the future, he will write the resolution for that transfer. And not until we're all on the same page with this transfer will that happen. Okay? It's going to be a vote to do that. I did talk to our regional director last week and informed her we were moving forward, and as soon as we could, we would, do our due diligence. I want to assure the citizens that you will always be covered with 911. Those dispatchers, no matter where it sits, as far as supervision, I just want to make that clear, that whether it's under the county government or under the Office of the Sheriff, we are still liable. Am I correct, Mr.?
Yes.
The county is still liable for whatever go on, so we're going to make sure that it's done properly and operates properly, because we're still liable, no matter where it sits. We're still liable as the governance and the county, but those are that E911. I just want to clear that up, okay?
I will say that Sheriff Campbell did make a visit over to Chowan County, because Chowan has transitioned like we want to, or proposing to, and he was able to do that this week. Isn't that correct? See you back there? You did make a visit this week, wasn't it, Sheriff? Yes, sir. Okay.
I'd like to speak if I may.
Come on up. And congratulations on your swearing in today. That's why you dressed up. Everybody's dressing up.
I did have a wonderful meeting with Sheriff Bass Knight and his 911 director, and I would like to model ours just like theirs. It cannot run any other way. There's not enough hours in the day for me to sit over there and run 911. You have to have a 911 director that is 100% dedicated to 911. And that's what I intend to do. I'll fix your 911 for you. I can promise. Guarantee I'll fix it. Probably gonna be some hurt feelings, and I'm gonna step on some toes, but I will fix your 911 board. I'll fix it. Number one, you gotta have a director. Number two, you gotta have people in there that buy into 911. They've got to take ownership of it. They've got to want to be there, want to serve this county. If they don't, they won't work for me. I can guarantee you. That's what we have to have. We are so short with dispatchers. I don't know if y'all knew what happened or heard about what happened Saturday with the runaway EMS unit. We ended up with one dispatcher in our center and him dealing with multiple agencies, 4 or 5 at one time, plus a deputy that was chasing a runaway EMS unit. Had something else broke loose, or we'd had a bad accident anywhere, I don't know what he would have done. he was almost completely overwhelmed anyway. Running that dispatch office with one person is a disaster waiting to happen. And it almost happened Saturday. We had a really good dispatcher in there, and he handled things. Another dispatcher, a part-time dispatcher, heard it and came over and helped out, but that was on the tail end of it. This went on for almost an hour with multiple agencies involved, and he did an amazing job to keep up with everything that was going on. I look forward to it. I want to take it over. Number one, you've got to have a director, someone that cares, and that's what I'll put there. They'll contact me when there's a major problem. Other than that, they run it. Sheriff last night didn't have to worry about his 911. He's got a great director, and that's what it's going to take. We're about 4 or 5 dispatchers permanently short right now, and we can't fix that till you get more dispatchers in the seats.
Thank you. We look forward to working with you. And again, send your comments or questions to the attorney, Mr. Godwin. Commissioner comments. Okay. Ms. Hoffman?
Okay, I would like to welcome our 2 new board members to the Board of Commissioners. I look forward to working with both of you. The easy part of being a commissioner is getting elected. The hard part of being a commissioner is governing. And sadly, you cannot be all things to all people. I would like to take a moment to speak to the county citizens. I have spent my entire life here, except the years I went away to college. I love Gates County, and I have always been proud to be from here. Friends and colleagues from across the state have always complimented on how well we work together in Gates County. Unfortunately, I do not hear those comments anymore. I hope in the future I will hear them again. Instead, people want to know what has happened. People viewing the videos of our meetings cannot believe how disrespectful speakers are during the public comments and the behavior of the audience as they yell out their comments. They have asked, don't they care what type of impression that they are making? No matter how well-intentioned or passionate they may be, this is a business meeting of a governing board, not a pep rally or a demonstration. As the county tries to move forward, these negative images will not help our local government attract employees or private businesses to invest in our area. Certainly, it does not help the county in obtaining grants from the state or nonprofits. In a democracy, everyone has the right to their opinions. People of all walks of life need to respect other people's views. If we learn to listen to others' viewpoints, you might see areas of common accord. In history, there are many examples of political opponents working together for the common good. A statement was made in the past meeting that the commissioners wanted a certain county endeavor to fail. I was shocked and very disappointed with that comment. It is totally untrue. However, I understand it was probably done to help continue the polarization. However, I understood it was probably done to continue polarizing the citizens during an election year. Let me just say, I have never made that statement, and I have not heard of any commissioner in the past make that statement. Speaking for myself, and I believe the other commissioners on this board would totally agree that we want all departments to be successful. However, North Carolina general statutes and Gates County procedures have to be followed. If employees do not follow the legal rules and procedures, actions have to be taken by the county and the state. The county manager is legally responsible to see that this is done. The finance officer has to have proper paperwork for ordering and paying for purchases from the various departments. There is no exceptions. The LGC is closely watching the audits and finances of counties and municipalities across this state, and Gates County is no exception. In the spirit of new beginnings, I welcome the opportunity to end this polarization that seems to have taken place over this board and this county. The right to freedom of speech is not absolute. When slander, libel, and defamation of character occurs, they place a limit on speech. Hopefully, we will go forward without this type of impediment because there's much to be done in Gates County, our home. Working together, we can and will accomplish great things for this county. And I think tonight was the beginning. Hopefully.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. Mr. Roundtree, closing remarks,
Yes.
comment?
Good evening to Gates County citizens. I want to thank you all for attending this meeting tonight. And also I want to thank you all for allowing me to serve and govern in the county. I'm looking forward to serve on the committees. I'm looking forward to serve on the boards. And I encourage you to do likewise because we are all vested in Gates County. Thank you.
Mr. Truman, Commissioner Truman.
Yeah, just second that. Thank you for the opportunity to be up here. Hopefully have a little more, my head wrapped around this a little bit more. It's a little different flipping through things up here. So next month, maybe I'll be a little bit more vocal once I get used to this flip-flopping around. But I do thank you, and I thank you to Ms. Outland for your service. Looking forward to reading through all of these fun documents that you've already prepared that I have received. But yeah, just looking forward to moving forward. I agree. Hopefully we can do so. I'm sure there will be disagreements and that we can do so respectfully and work together for the greater good of the county.
Commissioner Craddock.
All right, first of all, farewell to Ms. Eitland. Thank you for all your years of service. You've done one heck of a job. You will be missed here. I know one guy that'll miss you for a while. And good luck on your future endeavors. We really do appreciate it. Congratulations to the new board members. Look forward to working with you all. And as Ms. Hoffa called us, well, the old board members. You hear that?
I heard it.
It's always good to have new sets of eyes. Everybody looks at everything different. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to good conversation, good debate. Looking forward, I've done a lot of reflecting since the election, done a lot of praying. I've probably done some things that upset people in the county. I've done things that...
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not, I was just looking down. Some things that people don't agree with. But I promise you that everything I do and the decisions I make is for the best interest of the county and for the citizens. Thank you all for coming out tonight and look forward to seeing you soon.
For the chip, you have anything to say, Attorney? Okay.
No, ma'am.
County Manager?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Chair update, and I want to make sure this is targeted. There are 4 pillars that's holding up this county right now, 4 initiatives that we've been working on for almost 2 years. They're around water and wastewater, they're around housing, broadband, and economic development. Those 4 pillars are planned, they have goals, they have objectives, and they have funding. They have grants that underpins all of them. The plans that have been put in place are those 4 pillars because that's the infrastructure of this this county. The staff has worked very diligently in making sure it moves forward. We thank all of the staff that wants to move this county forward and all the citizens that trying to move it forward. But I agree with Craddock, I agree with Emily, I agree with Hoffler and Brian. We need people who are vested in this county, not personal agendas, not personal biases, But what's best for the counties? I had a conversation with Mr. Craddock, and one of the things I shared with him is when you serve the least of us, you serve them, we serve them all. When you serve the least of something, you serve them all. Everybody doesn't need everything we do. But when you look at this county and how undersourced we are, how underserved we are, and we've been this way for a long time, and not paying attention to accountability and allowing certain things to fall through the cracks because we didn't pay attention or because of who did it. That has to stop. State and federal are not looking aside anymore. They're looking at these counties. I see Miss Outland know what I'm talking about because she is the finance director. And she works tirelessly, she and her staff, to keep us financially sound and making sure the little bit of money we have is spent efficiently and effectively. But also, we have to make sure that we invest in this county. That's what you heard about the water meters and the water rates and the housing. We're repairing houses. We're replacing housing. We're looking at broadband. We're trying to get that in here. You see people run up and down the road. Everybody's running up and down the road. We got 3 internet providers in this county, and Erna Bright is leading that effort. And there's a broadband task force which Craddock is going to serve on. And we're going to ensure, we're going to do the best we can with the grant money we have. And there's more money to be had, but it's running out. So as we get frightened about moving forward, if you want to stay where you are, you don't do anything. And then when you find you have to move, you don't have the funding to do it. And I see Ms. Outland, but when I hear it again, she knows the money is drying up. If you look at east of us, the millions of dollars they receive, I keep telling you, it's right across the Dismal Swamp. They have all these projects. They got a Wawa coming. They got a Raw Farms coming. They got all this stuff doing. We sitting here talking about we want to be quiet. We want to be quiet too, but we got to have something for revenue to do something. We're not going to bring smokestacks in here. That's not our plan. We don't have a plan. We have a plan, but we haven't shown it to you. You're going to see that in January. Because remember, I remember someone said, well, when are you going to show us the plan? Well, we're not jacking the beanstalk. We didn't buy that land in February and think you're going to see something this year. No. There's a concept plan that's coming out. That concept plan is going to funnel into a master plan. That master plan is going to give you phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's how projects are born. And you're not going to hear what you think you're going to hear because that's not how businesses work. They're not going to tell you they coming. They got to do their homework, see if they like us, see if it fits. We're not going to do anything as a governing board that's going to hurt this county. I am glad to be sitting here before you with these other commissioners. But let me say something to these commissioners. We're not always going to agree. But once the vote is taken, we need to move forward. We don't need to come back 2 months later talking about I didn't vote for it. That's counterproductive. When the vote is taken, we move forward. Because not to do that is polarization again. You always say, well, the same folk vote the same way. No, I vote my conscience. I vote what I think is right for this county. And if it's not right, if I was the only one that voted for it, didn't carry, you know what I'm going to do? Get on board with the others and do what I'm supposed to do and move it forward. That's what a governing body does. So as your chair, I implore you, have your say. Be respectful and trust us. Trust us. Some things you don't know. And these new board members that's up here now, it looks different, doesn't it? Sitting behind this desk and sitting out there in that audience. You will never see them again because they got work to do. They're not going to look the same when they come home. You ain't going to recognize them. They're going to run the dog right out the house because they have nobody else to kick. Because they're going to have to make decisions that they know their friends, family, and fans don't understand because it doesn't fit their narrative. But that's governance. That's what you call leadership. To look at the total state, to look at Raleigh, what are they doing? Look at the federal government, what are they doing? How does that fit in Gates County? We're better than this. And I may not live to see it, but I know there are good things coming for Gates County. I know it. We're going to stop these people leaving because there's nothing to stay here for. When they graduate, they don't come back. To what? People come here to live because of the cost of living. That's why they come here, but they work somewhere else. Look at the department Commerce, the tier designation just came out yesterday. I sent them to some of the colleagues up here for they to look at them. We still tier 2. You know why? I told you why. Because people work outside the county, and that median household income is counted instead of per capita. That's what's happened. And some other counties that are more resourced than we are tier 1. But that has to do with grants. Mr. Craddock asked me about the tier 1, and he asked about the census the other day. Yeah, we had a discussion about the census. And we know that maybe we have more than 10,500 people, but guess what? That's what's in the system. That's what they're going to count when they look at us. We can know all we want to. So we got to play the cards we've been dealt, but we got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. That's what you got to learn how to do. I don't know everything, but I know what I know. And I work it. If you work with us, we're going to disagree. And we're going to, but don't be disagreeable. If you want to yell, go home and yell. I got a teddy bear at home that I kick. But the thing of it is, we are doing the best we can with what we have. And we don't have what other people have. So those four pillars, remember those. Water and wastewater, housing, broadband, and economic development. And finally, people said they had another plan. Show it to us. You don't like the way the direction the county is going, where you want to take us and how you're going to get there, what's your goals, objectives, how you're going to pay for it. Because if you can't pay for it, that's not a plan. Just show it to us. We'll listen. But in the meantime, we got 4 pillars that's already left the train station. There are plans in place. There's possible funding in place. And we need to stay on that train until we have to get off. Will we tweak it? Yes, we will. Will we listen? Yes, we will. And we thank you for being here every night you come. We thank you for coming to the podium. I write down things that we need to take action on. And I'm going to continue to do that as your chair. And I'm going to close with this. I said it 2 years ago. And I'm going to say it again. Stop looking at the person and look at the role. Stop looking at the role and look at the goal. So those that have a problem with the chair, and I know you do, you haven't even had a conversation with me. You'll find I don't bite, but I borrow. And I'm not going to do anything to hurt the county that I was born and raised in. And I'm serious about that. Okay? But if you don't, that's fine too. I'm speaking from the heart tonight because we started on 2023. It's a new day. We got much work to do, a lot of decisions that we're going to have to make as a board to keep things going. So I thank you for coming. And I'm going to ask for a motion in just a minute to go in closed session. There will not be any action taken after closed session in case people want to hang around and say, what we up to now. No, we're not going to take a vote on anything. It's just something we need to talk about. I'm going to ask the requested closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-3118.
So moved.
11, attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into closed session. We're going into closed session.
Sit up straight.
I need a motion to come out of closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11, attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.